and we have to really escalate the noise we make so that we'll be heard.
Credits. Welcome to Gay USA. I'm Andy Hum.
Hello, I'm Rob Shooter. Thanks for having me back.
Nice to have you here. What a news week. Let's give them the headlines.
Yes, let's jump right in.
You may have read that now listen to this carefully, that the Trump administration hates Iran so much that they joined the worldwide campaign to decriminalize homosexual activity.
A big one there. We're also going to be talking about the court blocking Trump's discharge of HIV-positive airmen.
Just people in the Air Force for now. We will talk about the Jussie Smollett mess.
Lots of breaking news on that one. A predatory Catholic Cardinal has been defrocked. Apparently, this is the first time this has ever happened in history.
You may remember the bisexual pioneer Sharon Bottoms, later Sharon Bottoms Mattes, who had her child taken away from her in Virginia for living and loving a woman. Well, she just passed away.
Martina Navratilova has been slammed for transphobic remarks. We've got all the news on that.
Say it ain't so, Martina. Now, this is my favorite story of the week. The Vatican envoy to France, this priest, Monsignor, Archbishop, whatever he is being investigated for the sexual assault of another man.
Calls intensify to make PrEP available as a generic drug.
Yeah. We're going to preview the Academy Awards this Sunday.
We are indeed. We have a ton of dish about that. And also, too, we have our very own Andy's review of the Stephen Sondheim classic, Merrily We Roll Along.
But we start with this sort of unbelievable thing coming out of the Trump administration until you dig into it. So, Richard Grinnell, we got a picture of him. He's the out gay ambassador to Germany, a real hard ass.
Yes, controversial.
They don't like him over there, very right wing. He used to work for John Bolton, who is now the National Security Advisor. So it's hard to see what's going on. He seems to have taken it upon himself to inject the United States into this worldwide campaign, which we've been talking about for years, to decriminalize homosexuality around the globe.
Right.
Especially in the Caribbean, Africa.
It's an amazing statistic. So in the 21st century, more than 70 countries continue to have laws that criminalize LGBT people. So he's using this, I think, to step forward and hopefully launch this campaign. But as Andy said, there might be a little bit more to this than meets the eye.
It seems especially aimed at Iran, which executes people for being gay, but so does the Saudi Arabia, which is where all the Trump money comes from. So, are they going to really confront these places? Are they going to do anything to them? Are they going to cut off aid? What are they going to do? They're not saying. And then he was asked on the news, Grinnell, what about the fact that the United States has all these anti-gay policies under your administration? You're banning transgender troops. You're throwing people with HIV out of the service, all this kind of stuff. And he's like, whoa, one step. He just changes the subject.
Yeah, they don't want to deal with stuff that seems to be certainly is going on here. And I think this seems like almost a soundbite, maybe low-hanging fruit. I think we can all agree, even the right wing, that killing gay people is not a good idea. However, protecting their rights and liberty here in America is something that they don't really want to talk about.
Well, I mean, as a gay activist since like the 70s, the New York Post used to always be against us under Murdoch. And every once in a while, you would see something in one of their editorials condemning one of these countries for their attitudes towards homosexuality. Like, well, what about your attitude towards homosexuality?
Right.
Which is horrible.
Nothing, like Andy said, has been mentioned about Saudi Arabia, obviously a very sensitive subject for the president, and also Russia. Not a single word about the rules. In
Saudi Arabia, you don't just get executed for homosexuality, you get executed if you criticize the crown prince. Now, Grinnell, this guy Richard Grinnell, is leading also. He is leading the anti-Iran campaign for the administration.
Yes.
They're determined, folks, to bring us to war. You might have heard Netanyahu mention a war with Iran, and the Prime Minister of Israel.
Right. A really tricky one. I think the hard thing for us to think about with this one is there's more here than the headline. The headline is something I think we all agree with, we want to fight for, but there's maybe a lot more going on with this subject than meets the eye.
I haven't yet heard the Christians weigh in, the right-wing Christians who, the Christian Jewish Bible does call for the death penalty for male homosexuality anyway in
He was
Leviticus.
also asked too what Vice President Mike Pence thought about all this, and had he spoke to Mike Pence, the answer was no, but he's happy to have a conversation.
And he hasn't talked to Pompeo either, who is the Secretary of State. But the other wrinkle to this is that now that they don't have a candidate for the ambassador to the United Nations, because this woman from Fox News had a nanny problem, they're considering Grinnell for the UN post.
They are indeed. Another name too that has popped up is Ivanka Trump. Maybe she might be put forward too. That's the gossip that's going on as well.
It's a nightmare, and we must make it end. There are other reasons to make it end. Trump tried to force Attorney General Whitaker, you probably read this, to install a loyalist in the Southern District so that they wouldn't go after Mike Cohen so much crap wouldn't come up about Trump. That was a big story this week.
A shocking expose in the New York Times, many pages, a lot of time, a lot of effort spent on it. And he sort of details all that everything we've heard all in one big feature story. Well worth a read.
Well, a judge did slap him down, Trump, this week over the discharging of HIV-positive service members, but only in the Air Force this ruling applies to. And where is the story? This happened in a federal court in Virginia. Judge Leonie Brinkema.
Yes.
She called the policy towards service members with HIV arbitrary and capricious, and she issued a preliminary injunction against getting rid of them. She said it's not going to stand even rational basis review, the lowest level of review. The Department of Defense says that personnel decisions based on medical concerns are altogether immune from judicial scrutiny. We can do what we want. And they're calling the plaintiffs non-deployable because they have a medical condition. And she's saying, what about all the other medical conditions where you have to take a pill?
It's pretty ludicrous. Another story too that has swallowed up so many headlines this week is Jussie Smollett, who you know from the Empire series. There has been stories breaking really every hour about what happened with this hateful attack, this alleged attack in Chicago. Now it seems that the story is unraveling, or at least changing. Initially, he said that he was attacked in Chicago by two gentlemen calling him homophobic and racist names. Also, he was doused with bleach and a rope was put around his neck. Now the two gentlemen that are believed to be involved in the attack have been questioned by the police. They are saying some very, very shocking things, including that they were actually paid money by Jussie to do the attack, $4,000 each, that the attack was planned and coordinated with him.
Right, and what is the psychology here? What is going on? There have been hoaxes before.
Right.
We could go down the list, including gay ones, but what is going on with Jussie? What's the story?
Several different stories have been reported, one of which is that he feared his job was coming to an end on Empire.
It is now. He's already been cut. They're cutting his scenes.
They are cutting his scenes. So the Empire has been filming for several weeks, and now most of the scenes that he's in have been reduced. I think they're very frightened about how advertisers are going to respond to all this. Also, too,
he could go to jail.
He could go to jail, although right as we're filming this show, there seems to be some sort of deal happening. His lawyers have been on the phone, and it's a last minute, they're calling it a Hail Mary attempt to help him. But I think this story has shocked so many people. Now celebrities are talking out. Cardi B is talking about how disappointed she is. She does point out, though, she still does believe him and that he has not been proven to be a liar. Also, David Chappelle has spoken out in an awful, homophobic manner. What he said is
par for the course for him.
He would like to break a doll's house over Jussie's head, which is a reference to what the comedian Kevin Hart said.
So he's gay bashing Jussie.
Gay bashing. No. This story has massive implications, I think, for all of us. There are hate crimes committed every couple of minutes here in America, and this is
around the world.
And around the world. And this is a big story, but the psychology of it was still trying to get to the bottom of it. A couple of months ago, an awful, hateful letter was sent to the set of Empire, and now there are reports that Jussie did not believe that got enough attention, enough reaction.
But who did the letter?
Now there's talk of him even putting the letter together himself.
I don't know. It's disappointing. I have to go back to Trump for a little bit on judges. There's sort of been a Trump dump this week. We told you, again, trying to, something positive that he did, or semi-positive. He had nominated a lesbian, Mary Rowland, to serve in the U.S. District Court for the Northern Illinois. Well, the new list is out. She's been dumped. And then he was going to nominate a gay guy named Patrick Bumte for the Ninth Circuit, which he is desperate to infiltrate. But the new list came out, and he's been dumped just for a U.S. District Court, not for the Court of Appeals down there. So he's been downgraded. And then, William Barr was confirmed. We're in big trouble. This guy's now going to be overseeing the Mueller investigation as the Attorney General. Now, Tammy Baldwin voted no on him, but Kirsten Sinema, the bisexual Democrat from Arizona, she voted yes. And she voted yes on an anti-gay judge who is also anti-abortion for the federal bench. It's very, very disappointing.
It is, and these headlines, they seem to start off so positive.
Well, Mark Siegel, who was the editor of the Philadelphia Gay News, he said the Human Rights Campaign needs to tell these senators, if you vote for these judges, we're not supporting you in the next election.
It needs to be said.
Right.
This week, to iconic fashion designer Karl Lagerfeld. He died in Paris at 85 years old. It's unspecified illness. He's best known for...
Now, let's talk about the pictures that are up there.
There he is looking dapper. He said at one point that he actually has become a caricature of himself, and that's how he likes it, his personal style there. He said he doesn't owe anybody the truth. He likes the gloves, the sunglasses, and his iconic ponytail. There he is.
Now, why are we talking about on the Gay USA show? Well, I mean, he's as gay, but he never really talked about his sexuality. In fact, the man he's pictured with there is his protege, Jacques Debasher, who died of AIDS in '89, and he was totally devoted to him, and he was bereft when Jacques died.
I think in the fashion community, most people would say Jacques was his longtime partner. There was very little doubt about that. But they never acknowledged it publicly. Also, not without his controversy. Remember, he called Adele fat. He's also said.
Oh, that's insightful. What's that about?
Some awful things.
Well, he wrote a book about, I think, a dieting or something like this. And and if this isn't for you unless you want to be.
Right. He called Meryl Streep cheap. Anna Wintour at Vogue magazine is meant to be very upset about this.
Who was that guy who used to do the worst dress list?
Oh, Mr. Blackwell.
He
did have a great quote, though, about Chanel that he took over that made me smile. He said, when I took over Chanel, it was a sleeping beauty, not even a beautiful one. She snored. Well, rest in peace, Karl Lagerfeld.
All right, I'm trying to do some of the other things that have happened politically.
Yes.
We have a picture of the highest-ranking trans appointee in the Gavin Newsom administration. His name is J.P. Petruccioni. He's the new director of digital media. He served as Newsom's deputy communications director, and he goes way back with him to his mayoral campaigns. And he did run a digital company himself, so that's a breakthrough there in California. Now, a couple of other obits that we want to do. My old friend Harry Milner passed away. There he is. He was 88 years old. He died in Ireland. Harry was a grade school principal in Chinatown. He was a longtime teacher, but he was one of the leaders of Dignity New York.
Yes.
When I was a Catholic, we served on the board together. He was our Tip O'Neill, we used to call him, and he was a wonderful character. He retired to Ireland and had a tremendous life. He was very active with the Rose of Tralee Festival over there.
Yes,
very
indeed.
active. You know about that.
Yes.
So that's Harry.
Indeed.
Now, we also have a picture of someone who didn't die, but who wants to die. And she is, where I gotta find this. Okay.
Fascinating story.
This is Barbara Hammer. Barbara is we have a picture of Barbara with the camera and everything.
Camera.
Yes, Barbara Hammer was is a very accomplished filmmaker, and she's had cancer for years, and she's suffering tremendously. And she wants there she is. She wants New York State to pass the right to die law, because doctors are not allowed to administer these things that would help you check out,
right,
which you can get in about 7 other states in the District of Columbia. So she is courageously urging that this thing be passed.
And saying quite openly that she's not moving to another state to have this happen. She wants the laws changed here so that she can die in the state where she wants to.
She's 79 years old. She was a breakthrough lesbian filmmaker. One of her early triumphs was Dictatics. That was one of her first, but she's had so much surgery and chemotherapy. She's miserable, and she doesn't want to pass her final days in a morphine-induced coma. Okay.
We have a news story with the New York Times have spoke to 24 closeted Catholic priests who pretty much say their lives are not so great. So many of these priests are coming forward talking to the Times. It is estimated that between 30 and 40% of American Catholic clergy are gay. The gentleman who spoke to the Times said they feel compelled to stay in the closet. They are scared of coming out for many reasons, including being scapegoated.
Well, they want to hold on to their jobs at this point. I mean, come on. They're
Yes.
serving a church that teaches that they're intrinsically disordered and evil, and it's untenable. It's also a church that doesn't ordain women. So there are a lot of reforms that are needed. There are some German theologians who just said, you got to change all this stuff, but it's not changing. I mean,
not changing.
They're holding on to their power.
Oh, they're 24 coming out anonymously.
They didn't. One or two of them in that story came out. And then, of course, and I guess we're skipping ahead, that story in the French journalist who documented that 80% of the Vatican Curia, the people who run it, are homosexual. Well, that's quite a blockbuster.
That's a percentage.
Frank Bruni at the Times was wringing his hands over this. Oh, this might not be good for us. I mean, they're going to, and they're going to link it to the molestation. Oh, relax. It's all right. And then, of course, we had the story of Cardinal Mccarrick this week. Now, we told you about him. There he is with the Holy Father. He's 88 years old. He was the former Archbishop of Washington.
Yeah, this is not a low-level priest. This is as high as it gets.
Well, besides the Pope. He was defrocked for sexually abusing minors and seminarians. Now, Cardinal Law, when he covered up all this abuse in Boston, they gave him a nice cushy job in Rome.
Disappeared over here.
But they
did. Maybe times are changing, Andy. Maybe times are changing.
Well, they're desperate because so much stuff is coming out. In every diocese, all the attorneys general across the country are investigating and documenting all this stuff.
I think too, it's more difficult now to hide. I think it's harder now to ship these priests to the Vatican where they will live out their final days.
Well,
harder to do.
They're under the gun. They're supposedly having some big conference about it, but they never do what they need to do, which is to have a very different attitude towards sexuality. So you don't get all these people who have these dysfunctional sexualities being priests.
Right.
You know?
Right.
All right.
Right.
All right.
What else should we have a look at?
Well, let's talk a little bit about what's been going on in the presidential campaign.
Yes.
You know, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand is a candidate. She became the first candidate to come out for a third gender marker.
She did. She did, the first one to come out. Do you think others will follow?
Yes, because there's a pack mentality out there.
Right.
Then on the Republican side, Bill Weld, remember him? He was the liberal Republican governor of Massachusetts, and he went to a same-sex wedding. I think he even performed one or something. And then he wanted to run for governor of New York, and he came out against same-sex marriage. So anyway, he may run against Trump on the Republican side. I don't know.
He's been encouraged. There's several people out there encouraging him to do this.
He says he still supports women's reproductive rights, so how many Republican votes can you get? I mean, Trump has 90% approval rating in the Republican Party. Right. It's not a very large party, but neither is the Democratic Party.
Right.
And then what about Playgirl model Ronnie Kroll saying he's running for president? We can't show you his pictures. They're not safe for work. But he says Trump would not know what to do with him.
Well, he might have a point, but you are welcome to look at these pictures at home in your own time.
Ronnie Kroll, Kroell. Just Google him and you can be entertained.
A healthy young gentleman.
All right. In Indiana, the hate crimes bill there was gutted by the Republicans. They sort of got rid of all the categories and just said, if you hurt somebody because of bias, well, that's pretty general.
Right.
But
right. No, gutted, not slightly adapted.
And then in Indiana, there's in a small town named Russiaville. I guess they've completely taken over there. This is no joke. There's a tax filing business. They'd been serving this woman who's a lesbian for years. Then she got married, so she comes in with her taxes this year with the spouse. Oh no, we're Christians. We can't do this. I mean, and then she's not protected under the law. Oh, Wisconsin viewers. There's an open seat on the Supreme Court. They elect Supreme Court judges there. On April 2nd, you've got a vote. And they're trying to preserve the liberal majority there with a woman named Lisa Neubauer, who was the chief judge of the State Court of Appeals. Conservatives want a guy named Brian Hagedorn. He's also on the Court of Appeals. He wrote a blog post saying that legalizing same-sex marriage would lead to legalizing bestiality. Have you seen that happen?
Oof. There's a story out of Florida. An elementary school teacher is under fire, under review for reading a book about a gay bunny to the class. So this book, if you remember, John Oliver wrote this book and put it out. It is actually about Mike Pence's little bunny who happens to have a very pro-gay stand in the book. It has become a huge success. I think John Oliver was shocked about how many books he sold. It became a #1 New York Times bestseller. Now it's in classrooms. A teacher whose name has been withheld read the book to his students. Parents were very, very angry, and now he's been removed.
A parent, probably.
Yes, been removed pending an investigation. Good grief.
Oh, my God. All right, the American Bar Association, this is for you judges out there. The American Bar Association's Committee on Ethics and Professional Responsibility, they're giving you guidance about, judges can do weddings, right?
Right.
So they're saying to you, if you do heterosexual weddings, you've got to do same-sex weddings. Mm-hmm. You've got to do them. Otherwise, you're violating your ethics. Even if you just do them for family and friends, it's not part of your... If you do them for family and friends who are straight, you got to do for the ones who are gay, because judges have to be seen as impartial. So that's the guidance that they are giving.
Sounds pretty good advice.
To the
New York City Council Speaker Corey Johnson is calling for a break in the patent here for PrEP. So Corey Johnson is both out HIV positive. He is saying that the federal government needs to step in now and make PrEP cheaper. Quote from Corey: as a HIV elected official, I have a responsibility to do everything in my power to end this epidemic once and for all. Corey notes that other countries pay about $100 a year for PrEP, where people in the United States can pay up to $20,000 a year.
It is absolutely insane, and we keep hearing from Trump and other politicians, we've got to get pharmaceutical. They never do anything about pharmaceutical prices, ever. Right. And they just keep changing the patent. So they could reduce the price to $6 a month instead of $1,600 a month, and they won't do it. So take control. This is on everybody. This is on Democrats as well in the House. At least they could pass a bill about this and show everybody up. All right. A victory for trans rights in Iowa. In Polk County, this was a jury trial. A jury said that the state was wrong to deny a guy named Jesse Vroeg the use of the men's room at work and to deny surgery coverage under the plan. And so they're winning gender identity protections well, wait a minute. They have gender identity protections since 2007 in Iowa. This is the first case that's been brought about it in 2019.
Wow. LGBTQ sports group, I think it's called, here it says, Athlete Ally,
Yes.
has dropped Martina Navratilova over
What
some
did she
transphobic
do?
remarks. So what she basically said is that trans women should not be allowed to play women in professional tennis. Quote, the rules on trans athletes rewards and punishes the innocent. So now she's been dropped from the advisory board of this group.
It's very odd because she's been an activist all these years. She has spoken up for some of the runners who have been questioned about their gender and everything, and she's been good about that. And then she made these very transphobic remarks. I don't know what's going on.
And an early ally. She got in pretty quick, and no, surprising remarks.
All right. Okay, San Francisco, they have approved a plan for Eagle Plaza to protect the South of Market District, a place where we can recognize, this is from the mayor, a place where we can recognize the leather community and all LGBT people. Eagle Plaza in San Francisco.
Look at the flag
we don't
flying
have
there
anything
too.
like that in New York.
We don't. Mike Pence's daughter might be causing a little bit of embarrassment here to our vice president. She just got engaged in arguably one of the gayest places in America, in Provincetown. So Audrey Pence, the daughter of our very anti-gay vice president Mike Pence, recently announced her engagement on Instagram. She was in Race Point Beach. She's called herself actually socially liberal and politically independent. It does not appear that her father was at the engagement celebration.
I see. Well, I wonder if he'll go to the wedding. If it's in Provincetown. I don't know if mother will let him. In Colorado, that's what he calls the
He does call his wife mother.
Right. In Colorado, the House banned conversion therapy, and they passed a bill to let trans people change their gender markers without surgical requirements. In Minnesota, the House passed a bill banning conversion therapy, but the Senate in Minnesota is still controlled by Republicans, so there's not as much hope there. In Virginia, we've told you about Gavin Grimm, never got justice, but the school board there is finally moving on accommodating trans students, but in a very restrictive way. I mean, you have to go through all kinds of hoops.
It's a lot of jumping to get through. Little Caesars, the pizzeria, has put a receipt out where they called two men gay. Let me explain what happened here. Rosamund Harris and Marcus Robertson, two gentlemen, ordered from a Little Caesars restaurant and found something pretty disturbing on their receipt. They saw the word gay in capital letters. Both gentlemen are saying the cashier never asked for their name. They asked for customers before and afterwards. What is interesting about this is the manager has not apologized. The manager has explained that the restaurant is too short-staffed so that nobody should be fired. We got to get you some more staff.
Well, I mean, they're not firing the governor of Virginia or the lieutenant governor of Virginia or the attorney general of Virginia for their transgressions.
Right. Little Caesars.
Better news from the New York State Senate. Our friend Brad Hoylman, who is the state senator up there, they passed a bill to wipe out gendered language in the Estates, Trusts, and Powers Law, and in the Surrogate Courts Procedures Act. These things are very important. They want to reflect the Marriage Equality Act. Now, they are changing paternal and maternal to of one parental side to the other parental side. Oh, wait a minute. You have something about sides that you want to talk about.
I do indeed. Let me find this story. I did not know what this meant, but apparently I really didn't. So tops and bottoms now meet sides. So the Urban Dictionary, God love you, is now describing men who do not participate in penetrative sex. They participate in other sex, but they're saying that these gentlemen are now sides. Apparently a lot of younger people, millenniums, are using this term to describe themselves. S-I-D-E-S.
Side by side by sometime.
Side by side sometime.
Merrily we roll along.
In a recent study in the Journal of Sexual Medicine, they found that 60% 60% of respondents did not engage in anal intercourse, making sides much more popular than
when HIV came along, one of the ways, the right wing said the only sure way to avoid it was abstinence. That's a lie. People could lie side by side and engage in mutual masturbation. Dr. Ruth used to advocate for that. And we at Hedrick Martin, when we talked to kids about AIDS, said, because people need something to do. And it is totally safe.
It's not only
to be side by side and to pleasure each other and not worry about penetration.
Pleasurable, and now a term. So tops, bottoms, and hello sides.
They finally have a word for it.
Have a word for it.
Now in Kansas, they have a lot of offensive anti-LGBT bills. They have funny words too. They want to call same-sex marriage parity marriage. And another defines another. Wait a minute. There's another one. This one I had to read carefully. They have a bill to define LGBT people as a religion. Well, wait a minute. This is from the right wing. And it says that the rainbow flag is a symbol of a faith-based worldview. Why would they do this? Because then they can ban the rainbow flag because it would be promoting a symbol of religion on state capitol grounds or something, etc. Oh my God!
That's why they're doing it.
That's why
another millennium story. So LGBT millenniums are deciding now that they want to be single. There's a new survey out there saying that as society changes and the pressures are less mounting to find a partner, now many young gay people are emphasizing being single, and they seem very, very happy about it. The study also pointed out there are still some negative images about being single, particularly for people over 50 years old.
You're going to have to help me out because I'm elderly, and we've been racing through these stories, and I always get a little disoriented when I'm not with it. Did we talk about Sharon Bottoms?
We mentioned bottoms in the tease, but we should jump into the actual story.
Okay. So Sharon Bottoms, put her picture up. This was a story we covered quite a bit back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
She had a woman lover, and her mother, Sharon's mother, sued in Virginia court for custody of that child because she was living in a relationship, a sodomy relationship. And the mother won, and it went all the way to the Virginia High Court, and the mother won. Even in the Court of Appeals. Her child was taken away from her. She was not allowed to see the child other than leaving her own home with her female lover and being with a friend in order to see her child Tyler.
So she had to see the child without her lover present.
Outside
so
that
the lover
place.
could never meet the child.
It was just one of the most heartbreaking stories. And the court basically said she was an unfit parent. Sodomy is illegal in the state of Virginia, and she had to admit that she engaged in oral sex in private. Maybe if she'd just done, I'm not making a joke, sides, it would be, I don't know. But I mean, that was considered sodomy, and that therefore she couldn't be with her child. She charged that her mom's boyfriend sexually assaulted her at the age of 12. All this came out at trial, but they still gave the child to the grandma.
And she's back in the news now because?
Because she died at the age of 48. She died at the age of 48. Her son is 27 years old now. Posted on Facebook about how much he loved his mother. That's nice. He went into the service and just...
Rest in peace.
Okay.
James Woods, the actor James Woods, is back out there saying awful things, but this time dictionary.com snapped back and corrected him. So James Wood put out a tweet on social media telling people that the correct pronoun uses in the English language is he for a single male and she for a single female, and they, quote, they, is used for a plural of males and females. Dictionary.com came fighting back, saying they has been used as a singular pronoun since the 1300s, showing Shakespeare and Jane Austen too.
Right.
He was trying to use the word they in a very cruel way to knock transgender people.
He's a nasty piece of work. He was perfect to play Roy Cohn.
He was perfect to play Roy Cohn. He was perfect. But I do like dictionary.com, snapped right back. Get it right.
And the Staten Island St. Pat's Parade is still snapping back at us. Now, we after 25 years of protest,
right,
we were able to get in the Fifth Avenue St. Patrick's Parade. We'll be doing it for, I think, the third year now.
25 years?
25 years of protest. Every year we would have to protest.
25 years.
But Staten Island is a holdout. They say allowing Irish gay groups to march would promote the homosexual lifestyle. So we got to keep boycotting them. In Palm Beach, a federal judge denied a motion to block the enforcement of the conversion therapy ban there, but a lot of this may be working its way up to the Supreme Court, and we're nervous with this court, as we should be. In Los Angeles, hate crimes are the highest that they have been in 10 years. This is, Jussie Smollett is unfortunate because they are real things. And the big targets are LGBTQ people and African Americans. In Tennessee, this is good. The state attorney general ruled that if a transgender person is targeted, they are covered under the category of gender in the state hate crimes law.
A big one.
In Arizona, they have specialty license plates. The proceeds are donated to the nonprofits who use these plates. $1 million has gone to Alliance Defending Freedom, the anti-gay group. So there's a Democratic bill to stop that.
I don't think people were aware of that.
What do you think about CNN hiring a Trump operative as their political director for the 2020 campaign? She's not even a journalist. This woman, Sarah Isgur. She has zero experience in journalism. She used to work for Carly Fiorina, Ted Cruz, as a spokesperson for Jeff Sessions when he was Attorney General. Right. And now she's being made the political director.
Yeah, I think
she's very anti-gay.
She's anti-gay. I think it's the job that she has. I think CNN and other networks have hired people from different sides
as commentators.
Yes. But this position is
to be the political director, oversee the coverage.
It's very surprising.
All right. Gays Against Guns went down to Washington on the anniversary of the Parkland massacre, went all over the place. A lot of people got arrested. That was so good for them. And let's see, shall we go off to international news?
Let's indeed. You jump in, Andy.
Well, my favorite story of the week, do we have, wait a minute, do we have a picture of this? Do we have time to get this? The Vatican envoy to France, Archbishop Luigi Ventura, 74 years old, is being investigated, there he is, being investigated for groping insistently a male official in the office of the Paris mayor, Anne Hidalgo, at an event on January 17th. Now, he was going after a man in his 30s, and it was really because he was so insistent. Why is this? Now, beyond the fact that this guy is a Catholic archbishop, and in 2015, France sent to the Vatican an out gay man to be the ambassador from France to the Vatican, and they wouldn't meet with him. They wouldn't accept his credentials. So you sent to France this molester.
In the mayor's office at public events is groping him.
You cannot make this up. By the way, in the context of this book about the Vatican and all the 80% of the curia being gay, I stumbled upon a story that said good Pope John the 23rd was gay as well. It was I had not known that. He died in 1963 when I was a kid.
If you think about it, though, if that number is accurate, it seems awfully high. But if it is,
what do you mean awfully high?
80% is a high number anywhere.
If you could win with 80% of the vote.
That's a high number. But I think if we believe that number, then to think that a pope might have been gay maybe is
my God.
That improbable.
There haven't been too many, come on. I mean, Paul VI was accused of being gay by a French journalist. He responded in the days when you weren't supposed to respond to these things, but he said it was a horrible calumny against him. Oh, who knows? And come on. The retired Pope, Benedict XVI, and those shoes. I'm not trying to just deal in stereotypes here, and he was very anti-gay.
He was very anti-gay.
Very mean to a lot of my friends.
Very anti-gay.
Yes.
What more international?
Well, the Anglicans are not so good either.
No,
they have a worldwide Anglican communion, and they're going to have the Lambeth Conference, and they put this off They are going to invite all the bishops, including the gay bishops. But gay bishops have been called personally by the Archbishop of Canterbury saying, don't bring your spouse, or the spouse will not be allowed to participate in official action. That's very mean.
It is mean. It's mean and
they
petty.
do it to kowtow to the anti-gay
yes, they do.
churches.
They do.
All right. And let's see. In Sweden, this is well, I don't want to go too much out of order. No. Let's do what happened in El Salvador. A trans woman, Aurora, also called Camilla, she died this month in El Salvador after being attacked outside the capital.
There she is.
She had long received death threats. She is one of these people who joined the caravan of people to the United States from Central America. And she was denied asylum by the United States. We deported her, and she was killed, murdered for being transgender down there. In Venezuela, the police have raided the HIV organization there because it was critical of the regime because of the shortage of drugs. So they were raided and retaliated against, and people were locked up. Taiwan. We told you that they've got to do something to comply with the Constitutional Court by May 24th, but they had a referendum that said you can't put it in the civil code, so they're fudging it. They're trying to give us most, if not all, of the rights, but they're not going to do it in the civil code. And so, but this bill that they're introducing to make it straight with the gay laws and everything, with the straight marriage laws, it's going to ban gay adultery and gay bigamy. So they're fudging it. All right. What else under international news? The London Zoo has 2 gay penguin couples and 1 lesbian couple that they're promoting.
And they're the talk of the town. People in Britain are going specifically to the zoo that have not been to the zoo in years.
I finally went.
To meet these 2.
Beautiful zoo.
It's a great zoo, isn't it? And to meet these 2 stars. They're the stars of the zoo.
It's a little expensive, although with the pound these days, it's not so bad. The European Parliament has adopted a landmark resolution on the rights of intersex people. That's progress there. Oh, and the BBC took a poll, right? A very important poll of who is the most iconic figure of the 20th century. Who do you think it was? You know. Oh, you don't know?
I don't know.
Alan Turing
was Alan Turing.
Alan Turing, who broke the Nazi code, who basically advanced computer technology
and was treated terribly during his lifetime.
Well, he wins World War II for the Allies by breaking the code.
Yes.
You saw the movie with Benedict Cumberbatch.
It was a wonderful movie,
right? It is.
And his life,
but they arrested him for homosexuality.
They did.
In the 50s, and his life went pretty far. They said, you want to go to jail or do you want hormone treatments? And it screwed him up a bit.
Yes.
Most popular reports say he committed suicide over this. Some people think he didn't commit suicide. It was a mistake. But the advocate who spoke for him, and he beat out people like Pablo Picasso and Nelson Mandela as the most iconic figure of the 20th century.
Right.
They said his gift to us was the future. Because of and there's now there's a push to put him on the 50-pound note.
I think it's a great idea. What he did was extraordinary. I was surprised. I did know it was him. You reminded me it was him. I would have guessed initially it would have been a royal.
A royal?
In Britain.
As the most iconic figure? Her Majesty? Queen Elizabeth?
The Brits still love our royals.
Well,
talking of royals, slightly off topic, Meghan Markle's in town.
Yes.
And I saw her last night
you saw
going
her?
to the Polo Lounge here in New York City.
Really?
I was walking
Did you have
by.
a chat?
I couldn't get near her, which is probably good for her. And she looked...
What would you have asked?
I would have said, hello, Your Royal Highness. I would have said, do you watch Gay USA?
She may, because we're all over the world.
She might.
Go to gayusatv.org and you can watch us anywhere in the world. All right. Well, are we going to get... Please.
Entertainment. Lots of entertainment news. Ben Platt has addressed his sexuality.
Oh, wait a minute. You know what? I forgot. I don't want to skip over that gay Iranian. And international news. I don't want to skip over that.
Jump in.
This gay Iranian.
Here he is.
This kid, His transgender sister was given asylum in Sweden, but not him. They said your answers about being gay are not good enough. He's 19 years old. He has a partner who he wants to marry, but they won't let him stay in the country. It is just outrageous. And also, we got two picks. Derek Jarman. The filmmaker, gay filmmaker, he was on the show back in the 80s, who died of AIDS a long, long time ago. He was finally given a blue plaque in London, not only as a filmmaker, but because he was a gay rights activist. And he was quite a seminal figure in the movement and in film. He did films like on Edward II and all those great things.
The English Heritage Society.
Good for him. So I skipped over that. Okay, now on to more entertainment news.
What should we jump into? So Ben Platt, let's start with him first. Ben Platt, who won the Tony Award for Dear Evan Hansen, now has a CD coming out. He has his own pop album coming out on February 15th. It's called Sing to Me Instead. He is finally talking about his sexuality.
He was the original Evan Hansen.
The original, won the Tony Award for it. His father is the big producer of Wicked, and I think his dad just did the Rent Live on NBC as the producer. So he comes from a long showbiz family. He's now talking about coming out. What he is saying is, quote, "I've been out since I was 12 years old to my family and anyone in my life, but now he's talking about it publicly." He said if he's going to write these love songs and talk about love, he doesn't want to pretend that it is not with men. A single is out right now. A couple of nights ago in New York, he did a little concert downtown to people in the music business, and I'm told he was tremendous. The boy can really sing.
Oh, sure. And, this is all about his relationships with men. And his successors as Evan Hansen, his first successor was Noah Galvin, the out gay actor. And his third successor, second successor, was Taylor Trench, who was also out.
Yes.
Now it's being played by a 16-year-old kid. We haven't heard from him.
Right, you're right. But
they're actually using a high school student now as Evan Hansen.
Pretty great idea. I've not been back. I saw it originally with Ben Platt.
It's so rare on Broadway. Usually teenagers in high school are 30 years old. I mean, literally 30 years old. And directors will say, well, we have to do it. We need people with the chops and all this.
To Kill a Mockingbird. They're played by adults, but they're not children.
That's different.
It is different. But
have you seen it?
I have.
And?
Terrific. A wonderful evening.
They didn't invite me.
How? Then I hated it.
No.
No, invite Andy. Okay, so Ben Platt, welcome, my friend.
Hey, we had a wonderful opening of the Love and Resistance exhibit at the New York Public Library. It has never been gayer. We have a picture there of Carrie Maloney, who's on the from the library board, and Jason Bauman, who put this thing together. He does all the gay stuff there. This is pretty racy, pretty good. I mean, it focuses on the early 70s in the movement, early 70s, when we were right after, well, it focuses on Stonewall and right after Stonewall. This is their Stonewall 50 exhibit, and there were 1,000 people at the opening. They wanted to make it a real democratic, small d kind of event where everybody could come. And the whole movement was passing before your eyes.
And it sounds like they achieved it. It looks like a wonderful night. I wasn't invited to that. Okay, Disney are pushing fairy tale weddings to same-sex couples. So Disney, on their official Instagram page, have a photograph of two men getting married in Orlando at the Disney World. They now are selling packages. They're being very, very open and aggressive now about making sure everybody knows that love is love at Disneyland. I think they started this in Europe at the Euro Disney a couple of years ago.
No, this year.
Was it this year?
Well, there have been gay days.
Yes, unofficial.
But they weren't official until
now they are official.
Well, at Europe.
At Europe, and also too, last year they unveiled those limited edition Mickey Mouse Pride ears. So maybe we'll have a little bit more merchandise too. Also too, The Jungle Cruise, a new live-action movie that's coming out, is going to feature their first openly gay character. So hello, Disney.
Yeah, well, last week we reported on their television network.
That's right.
They had a gay character say, "I'm gay." Say I'm gay for the first time.
Said I'm gay. Ellen DeGeneres has been getting herself into a little bit of trouble recently. So she came under fire.
Standing up for Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart, and also Chris Pratt, who's been defended this church where gay people are not welcome. Ellen Page was
Hillsong
Church. Ellen Page was on the show, and Ellen brought up her appearance on Stephen Colbert, where she denounced Vice President Mike Pence's anti-gay stance.
And the wife.
and the wife
And mother.
too. Ellen Page has been terrific on this and talking about it. She said, quote, "I think what people need to know is that it is life or death." That's how serious she is being. And finally, Ellen seems to be paying a lot more attention.
It is a very anti-gay
to this.
church. Most churches are. Most major religions are. Hey, why did this John Wayne 1971 interview from Playboy resurface? Why did it resurface this week? But all of a sudden, everybody is tweeting about John Wayne in 1971 in Playboy because he proclaimed himself in the interview a white supremacist, and he said, it's fine to move, blacks along if they get educated. I mean, these are the kinds of things that he said there. But he also referred to us. He condemned Midnight Cowboy, the movie, as perverted. Wouldn't you say that the wonderful love of those two men in Midnight Cowboy, a story of two fags, qualifies as perversion? I mean, of course, Ratso Rizzo and John Voight in the movie, they weren't gay. I mean, John Voight worked as a hooker and ended up with some guys and gay bashed one of his tricks in the movie, but he doesn't even know what he's talking about.
Doesn't know what he's talking about. A shocking new trailer.
But why did it resurface?
I don't know why that did resurface. I was thinking about that all week.
Everybody was talking about it this week.
There's a new a trailer out for Leaving Neverland. This is the documentary that was at Sundance about Michael Jackson.
Oh.
Two young boys who are now grown men are giving really specific details. HBO has picked it up. It's a 4-hour movie that I believe they're breaking up into 4 one-hour episodes. I know reporters, journalists that have seen this at Sundance, and they described it in the similar way as the recent R. Kelly documentary. Yeah. They think it is going to be devastating to Michael.
He's dead.
His estate still earns an enormous amount of money, and they were going to try and turn his catalogue of music into a musical, do the Mamma Mia type scenario with, really actually it's Carole King's. They were going to tell his story. It was going to open in Chicago. It has now been cancelled. I was told that the musical would not deal with any of the controversial aspects of his life.
I still say that it's not what you're saying, it was beautiful. That's what he used to say when you used to talk to him about these kinds of things. It was beautiful.
It is something.
Not dirty like you're saying.
This trailer, though, you can watch it now. HBO have just released it.
They have a trailer. We'll try to link to it. And we'll try to link to Ben Platt's song in our weekly email.
Look at us.
And you can get on our email list by going to our website at www.gayusatv.org, and you can get a weekly email that tells you
I like this story.
With links.
With links too. I like this story too. So there has been a revelation on Reddit. I know Reddit, but where people have been talking about their first fictional crush. Of all the people out there, a lot of gay men have been jumping in, and Aladdin has come out really high up on the list. Also, Luke Skywalker is on the list from The Empire Strikes Back. Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. Who was your crush, Andy?
You made me think about this. You alerted me that you were going to ask this question, but I haven't told you yet.
I don't know that.
When I was a kid, I was in love with Dr. Kildare. Richard Chamberlain on television. I was in love with him, so much so that I actually gave him up for Lent. I would sit in the living room, not watching Dr. Kildare. We got 5 minutes left, and because I was so in love with him. Now, of course, I came out long before he did. He was fooling around with Yvette Mimieux on that show.
Mine was Bobby Ewing. When I was a young boy in Britain, I remember Bobby Ewing. Dallas? Bobby Ewing had died, and I was so upset. But then he came back in the shower, which was a wonderful way to make
He rose from the dead.
He did. So what was your animated crush? Let us know. Let us know that one.
People who say Batman and all that kind of stuff. All right, I'm going to review Merrily We Roll Along. Now, this is a Stephen Sondheim show that I've grown to love. I've seen it. I saw it in London. And this is sort of an off-Broadway production by the Fiasco Theater Company. Now, Jesse Green, our friend at the New York Times, really trashed this, but I found it rather intimate. It's just 6 actors playing 27 roles.
Good grief.
And it's about an hour and 40 minutes without an intermission. So I love the music from this show. I think it could have been a little bit more hard-edged, but I'll give kudos to director Noah Brody and his troupe for putting this together. There were a lot of people waiting online for returns to go see this show because it's called classic. How about that Don Cheadle?
How about him?
He did put his picture up there. He did Saturday Night Live this week, and he wore a T-shirt that says "Protect Trans Kids." He just wore this while he was introducing a musical segment.
No fuss made, no big announcement.
In the beginning, he wore a Soviet hockey jersey that read "Trump." But he's a wonderful
How about
guy.
it? And talking about clothing or maybe lack of it, Shawn Mendes has been announced as the new Calvin Klein model. He's that young 20-year-old singer. The last gentleman that did this was Justin Bieber.
Are you going to show them a picture?
Now
we don't
they
have a picture.
You would see these pictures.
Shawn Mendes.
Shawn Mendes.
What's his story?
He's an incredibly talented singer-songwriter, a Grammy-nominated singer, like the new Justin Bieber, but much more clean cut. I was told that Bieber did not help underwear sales.
Justin Bieber is a member of the Hillsong Church.
He is a member of the Hillsong Church. But Justin Bieber was the last model for Calvin Klein. It did not work out. Shawn Mendes, hello. They're very nice pictures, and you're welcome. I guess
These are things that you can Google if you have.
You'll also see him on every billboard, on every highway. They spend a lot of money putting these pictures
cause
out.
accidents?
It does if you or me are driving, but everybody else will be just fine. And then finally, too, another great entertainment story I love. Taran Egerton, you might not know him immediately,
I do.
From Kingsman, he's going to be playing Elton John, similar. In Rocket Man, there's a new trailer coming out. The movie hits on May 31st. I'm told...
He does the singing.
He does. He sings all of it himself, and he sings in this trailer. Elton has said the following about his singing. Elton says, quote, "I don't think I've ever heard anybody sing my songs better than him." After the success of Bohemian Rhapsody, Paramount are licking their chops. They think this could be not only a huge commercial hit, but also a big critical movie.
And
too.
Jamie Bell, who was Billy Elliot,
Yes.
is playing Bernie Taupin,
Who
is
the
not
lyricist.
gay.
Yep. Not gay.
Right.
And so this Elton John thing looks just great.
I remember when Elton John was just bisexual, and but of course he didn't come out for a long time. He did a lot of drugs, but whatever. Oscars coming up. If you are going to an Oscar party and you have to make predictions about who is going to win, go to goldderby.com, our friend Tom O'Neill's website.
It's the best site.
Which will give you the odds on every single category.
It's really genius. What he's done is he's taken critics from every different movie, and we all jump in and say which one we think is going to win.
Are you one of the predictors?
Not on this one, but the Tonys you do.
Yes, I do. And by the way, Rami Malek seems to be a lock for Bohemian Rhapsody for Best Actor.
Glenn
for playing
Close.
Freddie Mercury. Mercury, well, not a lock, but right up there. I didn't know that Rami used to play a little gay teen on the War at Home years ago. But there it is. So he's profited from playing gay people.
Lovely to see you again, my friend.
Nice to see you too.
It was a
Rob
great show.
Shooter, naughtygossip.com.